Today, I want to ask you if you are a carer. Do you care for a loved one? What support do you get if you are? And how do you find it? Are there some good days, some days that are particularly challenging? What's it like? A Kent charity says more funding is needed to support overworked unpaid carers. Crossroads Care Kent says carers need urgent support, such as more respite and also short breaks. Well, Lorraine Williamson is the service director of the charity and joins me now. Also, we've got Simon Hasseltine from Whitstable, who cares for his wife, Dawn, and who lives with dementia. Let's start off, though, with Lorraine. Lorraine, thank you for joining. So, look, how important is funding and why is more needed to support overworked, unpaid carers?
Good morning, Eliza. Thank you very much for having us on the show this morning. We wanted to raise the issues about the need for carers to have a proper break, because although funding is tight across the board, Kent County Council have been very supportive for a number of years, many years. It's our 40th anniversary this year. In fact, supporting carers by the provision of some respite care in carers' own homes. And just this regular short break, having some time away with knowing that the person you're looking after is being well cared for while you can go and have a little bit of time to yourself is absolutely vital if carers are able to carry on caring for long periods of time and to keep the person they're looking after at home if that's what everybody wants to do.
So you're sort of talking like a couple of hours, something like that.
What Crossroads does is we provide a member of staff, a well-trained carer support worker who's vetted and well managed and well supported and supervised, and we're regulated with CQC. And they go along and make a relationship and look after somebody in their own home. That means that a trusted relationship can be formed between the person who's got the care needs and the carer. Because if you're looking after somebody who's vulnerable, who's perhaps bedbound, or who's got a lot of very complicated needs, the last thing you want to do is just leave them with anybody who pitches up at the door. It could be someone different every week. So that trusted relationship is vital.
How easy is it for me? So say if I was at home now and I'm going, do you know what, this is exactly my situation. If I pick up the phone and call you, how easy is it for me to get somebody to come and help? What does that process look like?
So for us, obviously, the first contact is very important. We need to find out a little bit about your situation, what your caring role looks like, how complicated that might be, and what sort of network you have around you offering you help already, because we get inundated with families. I mean, there are 151,000 carers in Kent. Now, not everybody needs replacement care, but those people who really, really do need replacement care are those people looking after people who are particularly vulnerable, whose needs are complicated and complex. So we have to prioritise those families first. But everybody in Kent who is caring and has a caring role is entitled to a carer's assessment in their own right and may be able to access information, advice, support and other type of practical help from a carer support organisation such as Carer Support in Kent. And of course that available, that after which there's a range of measures for carers if they want the opportunity to go out and join clubs or go walking or whatever. Our concern is that the funding for this very vulnerable client group, these carers who are most in need, is protected. Without a short break, without somebody being there to look after somebody that they can trust, carers can't get out. It's all some of our carers can do just to go out and do their shopping. They are 24/7 in their caring role. They are on their knees. We provide a support service as well where carers can call us and make an appointment to have somebody to come round and look after someone so they can attend their own health appointments. We work very closely with Macmillan and we have a cancer volunteer service as well. And so if people need to go and have radiotherapy or any form of cancer treatment, or they need to see their GP or even their dentist, going back to your earlier item, then a carer can actually go out and access that support. But without an organisation like ours,
are you worried?
Who does this not for profit? Then yes, we are worried. Yes.
So you're worried that potentially? Yes. I mean, have you had indications that the funding streams could dry up?
Well, Kent County Council are committed to support carers with short breaks to their new adult carers strategy. Our concern is that would mean the breakup of the support that Crossroads offers, diluting the services, taking some funding away, and perhaps breaking it up into short direct payments that carers could access to attend a yoga class or go swimming or something like that. So it is aimed. The new approach seems to be aiming towards those carers who have a lighter caring role and can leave somebody on their own. Crossroads is quite unique because we're a small, bespoke service really for those carers that don't have a voice. So yes, we are worried about that. We are worried that
Lorraine,
without ongoing funding, this could be a real problem for those heavy-end carers.
I'm going to be speaking to Simon in just a moment's time, but just paint me a picture of that voice, the voice that you're trying to give voice to, that carer that is struggling at home, unpaid and on their own. What's life like for the carer, for that particular one?
Well, I'm sure you'll hear from Simon in a moment how that feels for him, and he's a typical example. But we have hundreds and thousands of carers that we support whose lives are just dominated by their caring role. They don't have family or friends around them, or if they do, you'd be surprised how quickly some of that support disappears. If you're trying to look after somebody with dementia 24/7 who doesn't understand the difference between night or day, with incontinence, can't be left, sometimes that behaviour becomes quite aggressive. Sometimes it's the opposite. Somebody's completely bedbound and, depending on obviously their health condition, those carers give up their whole lives to take on this caring role. They lose their friends, they lose their jobs, they lose their social life. That network just becomes very, very tiny. And a carer's journey is never a positive one. It is that reward. It's rewarding and it's loving if that's what somebody wants to do, but it's absolute hard work, and carers give up their own lives to support somebody else.
Lorraine, thank you so much. That's Lorraine Williamson, who is the Service Director of the charity Crossroads Care Kent. Well, Simon Hasseltine is from Whitstable. He cares for his wife, Dawn, and Dawn lives with dementia. Simon, lovely to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining. First of all, have you had any time for yourself today? Do you get time for a little coffee break? What's the situation for you?
Strangely enough, this is my Crossroads respite time. So I'm back in my house with the Crossroads lady, Louise, talking to you. But yes, I managed to get out very quickly because I had a medical appointment and dash back again to talk to you. So,
What does it feel like when the knock on the door happens and you know that it's the Crossroads carer popping in for a few hours? How does that feel?
It is fantastic because I get 4 hours on a Monday morning. And as Lorraine was saying, I actually feel imprisoned in my own house. And that is, even when I go in the garden, I'm still thinking about Dawn and her well-being. So actually, when Louise gets here, for these 4 hours on a Monday morning, I just escape. I don't think at all of anything about my home. And I can go down my allotment, see my dad and do a bit of shopping, even have a coffee with someone. And in those 4 hours, even though I get back completely exhausted, it's just a nice feeling when that doorbell does go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you found that over the years, when you've been caring for lovely Dawn, who has dementia, have you found that friend and family has sort of dropped away a little bit? Obviously, I know you're not going to put any blame on them at all, but just feels like a natural thing that might happen.
Yeah, it is actually for two reasons. Really good question. For two reasons. One, they really don't understand dementia. And actually, when you come into my home and see Dawn, there is no response at all. She's bedbound and has very complicated needs. People don't want to see that. But also, I gave up my job 6-7 years ago to look after Dawn. Everyone else works. So therefore, they're busy families with their own issues and problems anyway. So they don't have any extra time to come in. The only stipulation I do say is when they come in is bring chocolate buttons for Dawn, because that's the only pleasure she has, to be honest. So.
Do you, do you feel sometimes, perhaps, I don't know, a little bit resentful, certainly not at Dawn, but just about the situation? Because I imagine that you must look at your life sometimes and think it's much smaller just because you have no time to get out and, to work and perhaps, have those conversations that are silly or whatever, to have time to do the extra hobby. How does that feel? How do you cope with that?
I don't know if you do cope. As I said, I gave up my job 6-7 years ago, and Crossroads has been here for, I think, 4 years now. And that is the only time, those 3 or 4 hours on a Monday morning, when I can get out and cope with life. Otherwise, I'm shut in prison. During the pandemic, it wasn't too bad because everyone else was shut in.
Yeah.
Now, when the pandemic finished, everyone went off for breaks, holidays, weekends away. All my family did. And I'm thinking, I can't do that. And it's only what Crossroads provide me on a Monday morning is when I can get away,
well,
and just...
Let's talk a little bit about Tuesday morning. What time do you wake up? What does your day look like? What time do you have to get up?
Wake up at 6:30, and then I have 8 people in the house during the day providing personal care. So I need to get, obviously, the house unlocked. I need Dawn's medication done and her breakfast and her hydration sorted before 8 o'clock. And then personal carers come, and then obviously I then need to work out when to give Dawn her lunch, her drinks and her tea in between the personal carers. So I get 8 people a day, probably 9 people sometimes coming in and out of my home. So it's a matter of managing Dawn's well-being around those calls. So your life isn't your own. I can't just shoot off out for somewhere. I have to manage everything around those calls.
I think you've kind of explained the situation, but I will ask, does she recognise you? Does she know who you are? No,
she does recognise no one. Even when, say, her brother comes, there is no facial... You don't get... No, I understand the question. You don't get a appreciation or a thank you or anything. Not that you do it for that. There is nothing at all there that... There's no recognition, no movement at all.
Can you still remember when you first got together? Can you still remember the moments that you shared? Or is this a bit of a cloud now?
Ooh. Yes, of course. And, when I'm feeding her, I sit down and talk about those sort of moments that we had, because we don't know whether that information is going in. It's almost like she's I call it a living coma with her eyes open. I don't know what information she takes, but I do sit down when I'm feeding her and talk about those moments, yeah.
Was there a book that you read together, a movie that you both really loved?
I put the radio on. I used to put the TV on, but she doesn't move her head or eyes now at all, so I just have the radio on. So, yeah, you do that. I think the second part of your question was, am I angry or resentful?
Uh-huh.
I'm obviously angry about this. I'm not angry with Dawn. I'm just angry about the situation, which is why, Lorraine, when she was talking, I don't need money to go to a yoga class because I can't actually go to a yoga class because there's no one to look after Dawn. I need Crossroads to provide me with respite for 3-4 hours a week.
Simon, look, thank you so much for telling us your story, because it's so important, and what that means. I know that many of us are struggling at the moment, but when we see that Crossroads Care Kent, and when we see if they have a bucket out or doing a bit of fundraising, we will remember you, Simon. We will remember you, and we will dig into our pockets and we will find, whether it's 10p or whether it's £1, whatever it is, it will make a difference, so that hopefully you can have three mornings to yourself. Darling, it really is a pleasure to speak with you, and we do so much appreciate you being here with us and painting that picture. Thank you. That was Simon Hasseltine there from Whitstable. As you heard, he cares for his wife, Dawn, who lives with dementia. And as you heard, life isn't particularly easy, but Simon is having his 4 hours off today, a little bit of respite, even though he's clearly exhausted. And that all because of Crossroads Care Kent, who were able to send somebody in just to take over, just to give a little bit of respite.